Hello, welcome to episode 2 of Under the Birch Tree. Welcome back especially to anybody who watched episode 1 and has kindly come back to see episode 2. Really delighted and surprised with the positive feedback from episode 1, so thank you so much for that. There's a few bits that I forgot to say in my intro last time, so I've got my notes here, so hopefully I won't forget them this time. My name's Claire. I live in the southwest of England with my husband and my 4 children. This is primarily a knitting podcast. There'll definitely be some crochet thrown in here and there. I was hoping to include some crochet today, but I have got such a lengthy set of notes that I don't think I'm going to be able to fit any in. Eventually also there will be some sewing in this podcast as I get to the point in my life where I'm able to start embarking on making my homemade wardrobe. Social media, you can find me on Ravelry as Under the Birch Tree, on Instagram as @ClaireKirkP. Please like, subscribe if you like this video, and please also comment, engage. It's one of the things I love about podcasts is that you get to meet other people and talk about fibre, knitting, crochet, everything that I love. I can't do a podcast this week without talking a little bit about Black Lives Matter, primarily to apologise and say I haven't done enough up till now. I've done stuff, but not enough. So over the last week or so, I've been listening more, reading more, donating money, and really pledging to support businesses run by Black people, buying patterns, yarn, and promoting them. So with that in line, the first section of this podcast, as it was last time, is going to be something I've already made, something from the past. I haven't actually got any finished objects this week, but this shawl is one that I made. It's designed by a black designer, Tammy Gore, whose patterns I absolutely love. I have got masses in my favourites on Ravelry. She primarily designs shawls and cowls, which is just the sort of thing I like to make. Actually, I tell a lie, I've never made a cowl in my life. Maybe a couple, but I make a lot of shawls and her designs are just beautiful. So this is my Ashbrook shawl. The original design is in 2 greys and a pink, and this one is in 2 pinks and a grey, or a silver. Tammy is such a talented designer. It's just beautiful. It's a kind of arrow-shaped shawl. When I first got to this section, you start here with increases, and this section you can see hopefully has got little bobbles. I think it would have been nice if these had been a bit larger, but actually I think it's nice that they're just a bit understated. And then when I got to this section, which I really loved making it's pretty. It's a little bit of mosaic knitting, but the way it's done with the darker colour in garter stitch over the rest of it being in stocking stitch is just really effective. However, due to the colours I chose, when I got to this section, I was really questioning whether I'd made the right choices, because I thought it looked a bit like chicken pox. But once I moved on and got to the rest of the pattern, I really realised it just fits beautifully. Then you've got a garter section, and then a lovely feather and fan, which is just lovely. A bit more feather and fan, a little bit of eyelets here, feather and fan eyelets, just a little row. Just these lovely details, they're just perfect. And then the shawl continues with its shaping to create this arrow shape. And this is, well, I congratulate myself on choosing the right yarn for this, because it's just perfect. I wear it like this. Hang on, let's get a bit higher again. There we are. And it's just lovely. It's so soft, it's squishy, and all these different elements in the shawl just create this, I don't know, the effect is lovely when it's on. So this is one that gets worn an awful lot. So the yarn I used is, again, like I spoke last time about, excuse me, just getting comfortable again on my cushion. I was a little bit low to the ground when I first started, so I've had to sit on a pillow, but it's folded over. Right, comfortable again. So again, 3 different yarn bases, 3 different yarn dyers this time, and it's worked really well. So the first of all, the pale pink colour. This is Mr. B Hiddleston sock, and it's in the colourway Duchess. It's a tonal pink. So there's just these little elements of darker patches in it. It's really lovely. Then the darker pink is Rosie's Moments, which I've knit with quite a few times. The Hiddleston sock is 75% merino and 25% nylon, and it's plied, so it's meant for making socks with. This, on the other hand, Rosie's Moments stuff is merino silk yak fingering. It's a singles, so it's not plied. This would be rubbish in socks. It would fall apart straight away, but it is so soft. It's absolutely delicious. And that's in the colourway Rust. And then the grey is from Skein Queen, and a silvery colour. And that is Enchant, which is 70% alpaca, 20% silk and 10% goat. I don't know what sort of goat, but it is really lovely. I really, really love this. The grey is the colour that I wanted to use in the Knitting Expats spring into summer shawl that I showed you last time, or I showed you in a picture because I didn't have it with me. So this was the colour that was intended for that shawl, but it had already been used in this one, and I think it's worked really, really well. So thank you, Tammy, for an amazing pattern. Absolutely love it, and I know I'll be knitting more of Tammy's patterns in the future. Excuse me. So, works in progress updates. The first work in progress that I want to show you is my frieze shawl. So this is the shawl designed by Lisa Hannes of I don't know how to say it, Maliha Designs, with the knit by numbers in these lovely bright colours, John Arbon yarns. I don't think you can see it close up, but it's got a really lovely halo, this John Arbon stuff, this knit by numbers. I really love it. So this is how far I've got, and I can't remember how far I'd got last time. I think the blue, I think I'd done up to the blue here, and now I've done this much more. So it's coming on really, really nicely. I'm being ever so sensible and grown up and weaving in my ends as I go, which is a rarity for me. But got a bit of something on that. It's really, really lovely. I'm really enjoying this lovely mosaic knitting pattern. It's easy to remember. But you need to concentrate. So I really like that. Each row's different, and that means that it's a really nice knitting to do in front of a podcast. Something that you don't have to pay too much attention to the plot, but equally it's very calming and soothing. It's not stressful. If you make a mistake, it's quite easy to undo it. There's been a couple of times where I've thought that I've done too many pink rows, for example. It's not looking great in the pattern that I've done, and I've had to undo it, and it's been really easy to go back and pick up the stitches and then frog up to there. So I really recommend this pattern. It's absolutely lovely, and I really recommend this lovely squishy knit by numbers yarn as well. And I think my proportions are working out all right. As I said last time, I'm just winging it each time, working out how many repeats I want to do of each colour. But I'm trying not to have a pattern. I want it to be a little bit random, not too ordered. The next thing is a pair of socks. Well, it's one sock, and I just need my trusted assistant who's going to help me because I don't have a sock blocker. Hold on a minute. Okay, so I'm back and my assistant is here because I don't have a sock blocker. So Maya, who is 11, has come to help me. Hold on. First, I'm just going to show you like this. I finished sock number 1 of my wood nymph pattern. So, oh dear, there's a bit of stitch poking through, a bit of thread poking through. Never mind. You put it on that foot.
This foot.
So this, while I'm talking about this, this is Wood Nymph Socks by Olivia Villarreal of This Handmade Life, and it's made with knitting Swede yarn, Spartan, some leftovers from a shawl. I think you're going to need to pull your trousers up because it's not going to look very good like that. That's it. Right, okay, it's going to come into shot now. Do 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 do. So it has got this lovely, are you all right there, Maya?
I think so.
Leafy pattern going all the way down the foot. It's really nice. Here's that stray bit of thread. Tickling her foot. It's got, can you twist your foot like that? Eye of partridge heel, which has turned out really nicely. And I have not been successful in not having that hole that you get when you join it at the top. I've managed it on this side. Can you roll over mine? See, it's fine now. And then the pattern, come this way. Also just it goes down this side for the leg section. I've done a twisted rib, what's this thing called? Cuff. With a tubular cast on, which is I used from a hat pattern by Marina Skua, which I love. So these are lovely, they fit me. So I think I've found my formula, which is 2.7mm needles and 64 stitches. So it's worked. Is there anything else I need to tell you about these socks? I don't think so. I shall talk more about them and about my 9-inch circular needles a little bit on another podcast. But first of all, Maya would like to actually take a proper part in the podcast. She's helped me a lot with this, so she definitely deserves to. Right, Maya, you're going to be able to scooch down here?
I'm trying to.
She's made something that she wants to show. You're going to have to sit on my lap. Here she is. Here's the rest of Maya.
Hello. Yeah, it looks so.
She had a tiara, as you do. That's the camera. So Maya's made this thing.
It's called an open and closed kusidama, which, as you can see, it opens. It's very cool.
It is very cool. Hold it up a bit more.
So it's open.
It's made out of post-it notes.
Post-it notes. And it all just open and close.
I'm just peering over the top of it now. So Maya quite likes doing origami and things. She's made quite a lot of things. But she had a go at starting to make one of these out of origami paper.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be, what, 10 times the size of this if you made it out of origami paper? Did you work
Probably.
out? Yeah. So possibly not very achievable out of origami paper. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. We're going to say goodbye.
Bye.
Oh.
Oh, that was easier than last time.
It's not going to be in our blooper reel then, is it? So Maya's just asked me if I can make her a pair. Exactly like this.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm not really keen on making patterns several times, but we'll see. Anyway, so yeah, this I'm really pleased with. She's still here. I'll just pause it while she goes. And then my other work in progress that I want to show you that I didn't show you last time is a shawl by Kalura Hudson of While They Play Designs. And this is made with some kind of almost vintage yarn. Denim, Sirdar Denim Ultra, which my mother-in-law gave me. A friend of hers had tried to make a sweater with, so it's quite a lot of it. It's in the bakery colourway and it's discontinued. This is machine washable. 60% acrylic, 25% cotton and 15% wool. So it's not the most special of yarn, but it's very, very thick, and I've got it, and I've been trying to be responsible and start to try and work my way through some of my stash. So I've been making this shawl with it, which is called, Mavel and Gwyn's is how you pronounce it. It's spelt with a DH in the Mavel word. And this is it. I really love this design. I would really love to make this with some really nice yarn one day. It's really easy to make, very simple, but really effective with this lovely cable down the middle. Really enjoy making this. I don't work on it very often because they're so long, because of the increases. But it's nice, and it's going to make a really cosy shawl to wear around the campfire when we go camping, which we're not doing this year for obvious reasons, and in the winter. So yeah, this is my big stash buster at the moment, Mavel and Gwyn. So that's my most of my works in progress. But I'm going to talk about a couple more in a minute, because now I'm going to move on to talking about my sweater journey. So as I've mentioned, I'm trying to learn to make my own clothes. I want to sew my own clothes eventually, but in the meantime, because I can knit, I'm trying to learn how to knit my own clothing, and I've not had a great deal of luck in the past. I've not had a great deal of success. I think one of the main reasons is that I've been worried about wasting yarn, wasting money and time on beautiful yarn, and the sweater not turning out right. Now, like nearly every other woman on the planet, I am not the same shape that clothing manufacturers want women to be or think women are. And when I go and buy clothes and try them on, I will find something that looks beautiful on the hanger, and I'll go and try it on, and I will look absolutely rubbish in it, and vice versa. I'll pick up something on the hanger that really doesn't look like much on the rail, and then I try it on and it looks absolutely fantastic. So I'm very wary of knitting clothing, because you put such a lot of time and energy in, and you don't know if it's going to look good. I've realised I need to just go for it. I need to practice. I need to learn a bit more about what suits me, why it suits me, and how to adjust fit so that it's going to suit the shape of my body. I've learned some of this from the Isabel on the Fluffy Fibres podcast, who I really love, who makes a lot of her own clothes, and who has talked quite a lot about the need to learn about what suits you and how to understand why certain shapes and fabrics suit your body shape better. So I decided this year, while I'm waiting for the point at which it's good for me to get on with sewing my own wardrobe, I'm going to start knitting my own wardrobe. Now, part of that was socks, but also I want to knit sweaters as well. So this first thing I made is the Sabine cardigan by Julie Weisenberger of Coco Knits, and I'll put a picture here quickly of me wearing it. This has been successful. I'm really pleased. Here it is in person. It's a really nice sweater. It's got these fluted sleeves. You can change the length of them. She tells you how to do that. It's the increases are worked so that you see them as part of the pattern, which is really lovely. Same with the raglan shaping on the sleeves. It's a kind of waterfall cardigan, so you've got this long bit that would cross over. You could cross it over and tie it with a pin, but it hangs like a waterfall really nicely. And then there's a lot of shaping in the back, again using the yarn over eyelet to do the shaping in the back. And I'm really pleased with it. And it used less than 200 grams of sock yarn. So for this pattern I used some yarn that, again, my yarn sponsor mum had in her stash that she didn't think she was going to use. It's Posh Yarn Esme Sock. The colourway is called With Drowsy Head and Folded Wing. It's 100% merino. And I used 5.5mm needles. What would I do differently? So it did use 2 skeins. It's hand dyed yarn. So with hand dyed yarn, that you don't always get uniformity across 2 different skeins. So what they advise is that you use alternate rows with different skeins. So I did try that when I started, but what I found was that the increases on this side and the increases on this side did not have the same tension, because instead of going backwards and forwards at the end of each row, so one row I was just ending and then turning and going back the other way, and on the other end I was ending and then starting with my next piece of yarn. So that was creating a different tension on each edge of the neckline. I couldn't marry them up. I couldn't make them work as they wanted them to. So I realised that I was going to sacrifice potentially having a jog in the yarn where I changed balls in order to have the same tension down the neckline, each side of the neckline. On the whole, it's worked. When I blocked it, I could see where I changed the yarn. I don't think it's really very visible here. I think maybe it's that darker section at the bottom. See if I can see it at the back. Yeah, you can see at the back really where I changed the yarn. But it's not horrific. It's not horrific. And you don't notice it when it's on. So I'm really pleased with that. It's worked. It grew quickly. I think one of the things I learned, well, it depends on the effect that you want, but I think it would have been nice maybe to have knit it with a non-superwash yarn, because you've got a lot of stitch definition here. It's very, very holey, and I know that's partly because it's sock yarn on large needles, but I think also if I knitted it with something with a bit of a halo or something that was a bit stickier, those would have closed up a little bit. It would have been a very different fabric. So I may make that again one day with some different yarn, because it was quick and it really didn't use much. I think I had 50 grams left. So for me that was only 150 grams of yarn, which was not very much at all for a whole sweater. And then the next thing I made was again using stash yarn that I had from a friend whose mother, I think, had this and then not made anything with it. It was easily a sweater quantity, 11 balls of, it was Adria Fill Knit Coll in a DK weight, and it's 100% superwash merino in colourway 61. Now this is, I'm going to show just the, it is a self-striping yarn, and I have a feeling it's designed really for children's and babies' cardigans and sweaters because of the way that the repeat goes, the length of the repeats. What it's meant making it up as a big garment is that I've got pooling in places that I'm not really happy with. I'm not upset about it. I don't think it's a sweater I will wear. I think I would wear it if it was in a really nice fabric, but I've really seen this as a learning piece of work. I haven't wasted any money because the yarn was a gift. It was a hand-me-down, and it was soothing to knit. It was really nice to see it growing. It was nice to make something with DK weight as well. So I'll put a picture of me wearing it here so you can see it big, but I will also show you here. So this is the pooling that I don't like. Let's see if I can show you. You've got a big section of blue stripes here, pink, 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 pink. This bit's gone really well. The bottom section's gone really well. If the whole thing had been like this, I wouldn't have been too worried. And the top's been all right, but the top was all right because that was knit side to side. This was knit flat. I think, I can't exactly remember, but then the bottom section's knit in the round, so the length of the repeats is affected by that. And then of course you've got the sleeves. Now the sleeves, that I think that's more what the repeats are meant to look like. That's if you were making a baby's cardigan or a toddler's cardigan, that's what you'd see, which makes a bit more sense. It's got pockets. That was quite fun to do. And I got the instructions for how to sew in the pockets from Coco Knits website, which is the designer who designed the cardigan I just showed you. And they've done really neatly, so I'm really pleased with that. They were quite fun to make. So I'm pleased with this and not pleased. I'm pleased that it's worked, it fits, it doesn't look horrific on me, the shape suits my body. I don't own any jeans at the moment, but I think I need to wear it with jeans. It's a little bit too short to wear with leggings. But I think the colour doesn't work, the yarn choice wasn't right. And that's fine, because it was, as I said, it was a learning thing. But I think I would make this again with some really nice yarn once I'm more confident with making sweaters. So those are my 2 finished sweaters on my journey to learn to make my own sweaters. I do have 2 things on the go caught on my basket. There. This is A Hint of Summer by Isabel Kramer. This is made with lace weight yarn. It's 2 different colours. Now, these 2 skeins I bought completely separately for completely separate projects a very long time ago. So this is blowing out a little bit on the light. Let me just turn the light down a little. Nope. There we are. So this is Fleece Witch baby alpaca and silk lace. This has been balled up for years as I've tried and failed to make several things with it. But at last I found something to do with it. And then this is 5 Moons yarn, Nana 2-ply, which she doesn't make anymore. This is Lunasa colourway. It's 55% superwash BFL and 45% silk. So I had 100 grams of both. They, as I said, were not originally planned to go together at all. I looked at them several times to ask myself, would these work together, and decided they wouldn't. And then I just thought, I've just make something with them, just have a go and see if it works. So I made up a swatch, which I'm just going to get to show you. Okay, I'm back. I do apologise for the disjointedness of this episode. I will try and get better at making it a bit smoother. I thought I'd brought everything I wanted with me, but I haven't. Anyway, so this is the swatch I knitted up. You can see that this first half I did what the pattern called for, which is 4 rows of one colour, 4 rows of the next. And then I wasn't convinced with the look of it, so I had a go at doing a different ratio, so 4 of one and 2 of the next. I liked better. I thought this would work better because I really wasn't convinced that these 2 yarns would work. I'm still not 100%, even though I've done quite a lot of the patterns. I'll see what it looks like when it's completed. But anyway, with this, I thought this stripe would be better, but I did the maths and I was a bit worried that I would run out of one. I actually don't think I needed to have worried, but there we go. So I've done quite a lot of this pattern now. I've knit all the body. I'm meant to be doing the sleeves next, but I'm just waiting for some needles to come because I need a slightly different size. So I've done the neckline instead. So this is just on hold while I wait for the sleeves. So here it is. It's very wide. I did knit the right size for me with the right positive ease. Hopefully this bottom section will stop curling up quite so much when I block it. I'm sure it will. So because it's so wide, it looks very short. I can't get it all in. But I think it is the right length when I've put it against my body, and I'm going to block it long, so I'm going to pull it down to lengthen it a bit when I block it. You don't have to put sleeves in. There's lots of variations for the pattern, but I'm going to. Oh, I need to tell you what the pattern is, don't I? Forgot that bit. So this is A Hint of Summer by Isabel Kramer. I think things I've learned from this is that Isabel Kramer is a very good pattern designer. and I'm looking forward to maybe making some more of hers. I've learned I'm not convinced I'd work with lace weight again, but maybe I would. I don't know. I don't know if this is something I will wear. I'm hoping it is. I'm hoping that over a pair of maybe cut off trousers and a white sort of vest top, it'll look really good. We'll see. So this is working as far as the pattern goes, and I have no idea whatsoever if it will suit my body shape until I've completed it, blocked it and put it on. So we'll see. We'll see. The next thing I've made, I'm halfway through, well, actually very nearly finished, is a sweater for a toddler. Now I made this because the other quest that I have at the moment is to learn colour work. I'm going to talk about my journey learning colour work in another podcast. But this is why I've made this sweater. I'm really inspired by the circular yoke sweaters that are very popular at the moment, but I haven't really done much stranded colour work before, so I'm trying to learn that, but I'll talk about that another time. But I thought rather than invest in a lot of time and money in making a sweater for an adult that has got a circular yoke, I thought I might instead make one for a toddler first. So this is the Dancing T-Rex sweater by Natalie V of Knit and Rain Designs. And I'm just going to see if I can get it so you can see. So here we are. This is the yoke. It's so cute. Oh, I'm absolutely in love with it. There are some issues with the colour work, but I'll talk about that when I talk about colour work. But the sweater itself is turning out absolutely brilliantly. I just love it. Here's the sleeves. You can see I'm very nearly finished. I've just got a couple of inches left to do on the sleeves. I'm really pleased with this. I did a tubular cast on again on the neckline, using the instructions from Marina Skewer's Heelless Hat again. And just love these dinosaurs. Oh, my nephew's going to love this. I haven't put it on Instagram because my sister-in-law is on Instagram, and I want it to be a surprise, but I don't reckon she's going to watch this podcast. She's not a knitter. But if she does, hi Han. Sorry the surprise is spoiled. But this is lush. So this lucky little boy is getting a new baby brother or sister in the autumn. So I'm making this, and I'm going to make something for his sibling to be. So there we are. Dancing T-Rex sweater. Absolutely gorgeous. And I will talk about the colourwork situation when I talk about my colourwork quest. So that's my other work in progress. And I think that is all my works in progress that I'm knitting. I do have some crochet ones on the go, but I'm not going to talk about those this time. So, ongoing with my quest to be able to knit sweaters, I've got two things that I have planned. I have a little baby cardigan, which I'm going to talk about in a sec when I talk about my next cast on, and I'm going to knit an adult sweater. Now, this, I know, I didn't tell you, this is made with Drops Puna. I think I've got part of it left. Drops Puna is 100% alpaca. You can see the halo on it. I'm sure someone sensible and wise about colour work will comment and tell me it's not the best for colour work, and I do know that now. But as I said, I'll talk about colour work another time. It's knit with grey, and this blue is called Jeans Blue, and I've run out of it. This was what was wrong with this pattern, is that, so you can see it's on waste yarn at the moment. The yarn amounts were completely wrong. I've looked and re-looked at it to check, and I haven't got it wrong. I don't know if other people have found the same problem. But it tells you to get a certain number of the grey and a certain number of the blue, obviously. And I've ended up with way too much grey and a whole ball too little blue, which is really frustrating because Wool Warehouse, where I bought it from, then the blue was out of stock for weeks. Anyway, it's come back into stock and I've ordered some, so I'm just waiting for it to come, and then I'll be able to finish these sleeves. It's really squishy, it's drapey, it's soft, it's lovely. It's got a little bit of a halo, which I'm hoping, oh, you can see it there at the top, look. I'm hoping it won't cause any itchiness, but I don't think it will. It's very soft. Anyway, it's a sweater, so we can wear it over something if it does. It's I can't remember if it's washable or not, you know. But Hannah, my sister-in-law, she's very good at looking after wool clothes. She's very knit-worthy. And this, again, I'll learn about the alpaca with the colour work. So that's back to the end of that. So the next, the reason I decided to use this yarn though, I'm sorry I'm going backwards and forwards, is because I bought a sweater, adult sweater quantity amount of this same yarn for a sweater for me to go with a particular pattern. And I was very anxious about starting it because I really didn't think my colourwork skills were up to speed yet. So I thought, well, I'll knit a toddler cardigan jumper, and also it can act as my swatch. So when I've blocked this, I will count it and it will act as my swatch for my adult jumper. So do have a pattern in mind. It's an Isabel Kramer pattern. I think it's called Manu Sweater. It's meant to be an Aran weight yarn, but there are a couple of people who've made it with this yarn, which is a DK weight. So I'm hoping it'll work out, but once I've done the swatch, if the gauge isn't right for the adult sweater, I say done the swatch. Once I've completed this and blocked it and counted it as if it were a swatch, I will see if it's going to work for that pattern. If it isn't, I'll have another look for another pattern. There are plenty out there of different yarn weights, so I should be fine. Then the other project that I have is going to be my next cast on, actually. So when I've completed this, my next cast on is going to be the cardigan that's going to go with it. Well, I say go with it, but it's for this little boy's little brother or sister. And this is the Sock Yarn Stranded Cardigan by Jennifer Little of Looking Glass Designs. It's a teaching pattern. So it's colourwork again, colourwork yoke. Hopefully I'll get a chance to practice my colourwork again, that's the plan. But the other skill that I will be learning making this is steeking. Oh, chickens are going again. Noisy things. They're bantams. They're not meant to make this much noise. Anyway, so again, I'm using alpaca. Same brand, different sort of alpaca. This is actually called Drops alpaca. It's a fingering weight yarn, and I've kind of gone for similar colours that the samples knit in because I just think they look so groovy and fantastic. I have learned since the alpaca's not the best choice for steeking as well as for colourwork. However, I do know that you can really steek anything if you sew it well enough before you do it, from what I've read. So we're just going to see how it goes. It's a teeny little cardigan for a newborn baby. It's not going to take me long, and I'm not going to feel like I've wasted a lot of time and money because Drops is not expensive. I don't want to use Drops long term. I know that there's some ethical issues with Drops as a company. These are the colours that are going to go with it. I've got orange, sort of, that's actually a sort of pale purpley lavendery type colour. I've got some leftover, something Mum made, and dark blue left over as well. So those are going to be the colours that are going to make the pattern up. And then I've also got, to go with it, I've got my buttons ready. Little coconut buttons, I think these are. So I think they're going to be really sweet. And some ribbon to cover the back of the steek. So hopefully that will go really nicely. So I'm looking forward to working on that. It will be a challenge. In many ways. But I'm looking forward to starting that. And as soon as I've got the rest of the blue for this and I finish these sleeves, I'll be getting on with it. So hopefully that will be in my next podcast. Hopefully this will be as a finished object, and this cardigan will be in as a work in progress. So that's my next cast on. The last thing I want to talk about, and I have no idea how long this video is, because instead of sensibly pausing it each time I've had to go and do something, I've stopped it and then started another video. So I have no clue. Anyway, I've got an acquisition to show you. I have seen a pattern that I really want to make, which I'm not going to really talk about in any depth because I want to talk about it when I do it as a next cast on. And it uses 2 skeins of a kind of neutrally type colour and another skein of a really strong contrast colour. As it's coronavirus time, I haven't been able to get to Wonderwall. It was cancelled, and I didn't want to wait until the next show that might be available. So I've had to try buying online, which I've done a few times through the lockdown period. But it is tricky because you don't really know if the colours are going to work. So I ordered, or rather Mum ordered for me, thank you Mum, from one of my favourite yarn dyes that I think I showed you last time, which is the Knitting Shed. I've ordered these 2 skeins for my neutral colour. This is this is from the Knitting Shed. It's alpaca silk 4-ply, and which is 70% baby alpaca and 30% silk. And this is the barn owl colourway. It's a repeatable colourway. It's just amazing. Look, it's got these little speckles of brown. It's got these bits, orangey, yellowy bits. It's really, really delicious. I think there's even some sort of reddy orange in places that I've seen. So I wanted to go with this, a kind of mushroomy brown colour. And there was one that looked absolutely perfect on the video, on the photo on the website. And I ordered it, and it's bark, and it came, and I thought, wow, that is a beautiful colour. Here it is. It's really, really lovely. It's not as brown as I hoped it would be. It's the same base. It's called Bark, this colourway. It's not as brown as I hoped it would be. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Really tonal. This will be something. It goes really beautifully with these as well, but not for the pattern I want to make. It's not the right effect. It's not the effect that I wanted. So I was a bit disappointed. But these things happen, particularly when you're buying yarn online. So I spoke to Mum about it and said, oh, you know, maybe it's going to be, this is right low at the bottom of my queue, the shawl I want to make this with. So I thought, well, I'll wait. And then maybe I can take these to a show and find something in person. But she decided to email the ladies at the Knitting Shed. I think they're called Louise and Nicola, and they're lovely. And they replied and said this does tend to go with this. They're right. But the other skein that they think would go with it, they found one called Red Wing, and they, Mum just went ahead and ordered it. So that came this week, and here it is. Isn't it lovely? It's more orange than this. I wonder if I change the lighting, if it'll show it in a better, slightly better. That's slightly more realistic. No, it's not great, but it never is on screen, and that's exactly the problem. That's exactly why I couldn't get the right one. Anyway, this I'm in love with, and I'm chuffed to bits, and it's going to make a really decadent, amazing shawl, and I'm looking forward to talking about that as a next cast on at some point in the future. The other thing I also want to mention about the lovely Knitting Shed ladies is they always send a little gift as well, a little freebie. So the first time I got sent this little skein of yarn, which is merino and silk single in the colourway Hip, and again that's not a bad representation of the colour actually this time. It's really lovely. I'm guessing I haven't weighed it and it doesn't say, but I'm guessing it's about 20 grams, 15 grams maybe. So I'm not quite sure what I'll do with this particular skein because it's a merino silk single. I'm sure it'll come in handy in something, and at the very least it might join my little jar of leftover goodies that I will maybe one day make one of those, maybe a cozy memories blanket or something with. And then with the red wing came this. This one I am really excited about, because this is BFL smooth sock. So this can become some toes and heels of a pair of socks, which is really great. It doesn't say the colourway, it's 100% Blue Face Leicester. So thank you very much, Louisa Nicola. So just before I sign off, I want to just talk about another podcaster that I enjoy watching. Last time I spoke about the first podcaster I stumbled upon, and this time I want to talk about the second. The second podcast that I found was the Marina Skewer podcast. I really enjoy watching Marina's podcasts. She does a lot of things. She spins, she dyes wool, she weaves, she prepares stuff for spinning, she gardens, she knits, and she includes all of it in her podcast. She sells things online as well. She sells her yarn that she makes, that she dyes online, which is beautiful yarn. Can definitely recommend you go and watch this podcast. A lot of the stuff that she puts on the podcast is the process of how she does things, and I really enjoy that because I'm not a spinner. I don't weave, and it's really I love watching how these things are done, particularly the parts of the process that I don't do myself. As a knitter, it's great to see how stuff's spun. I have learned so much from watching podcasters who spin, explaining the process, explaining what it means. I've learned about different worsted versus woolen spun. I don't understand it enough to explain it, but I'm getting a lot in terms of education, and also in terms of inspiration from some of these podcasts. So Marina's a really good one for watching if you like watching those processes. Do go and check out my subscription list. So all the channels that I subscribe to are public. My list is public. So one of the ways I find podcasts is by looking at the subscription lists of the podcasters that I really like. So if you want to go and check out mine, go for it. I'm definitely going to try and talk about one at the end of each episode of Under the Birch Tree. So that is it. Thank you very much for joining me again. Like, subscribe, comment, blah blah blah, say nice things. And please come back again for episode 3, hopefully in a couple of weeks. Bye bye.